Hello everyone, so what do we have here today? We have this really old guitar, and on the offset it just looks like a broken, I don't know if you can see, the neck's coming off, just a broken old guitar. And that's what the owner of this guitar thought when he was given it, well, how do you call it, donated it, let's say. I went round to look at a couple of these guitars he's been donated, and he asked me if I could fix a few up. And the other guitars are a bit easier. They're just nylon string guitars for, you know, people to learn on. This, however, I noticed was very old and very thin. It sounds like an old cupboard or something, yeah? And then I took it away. It was in a really bad state. I'll put some pictures up of the original state. This is like halfway, me cleaning it up. And when I looked inside it, I noticed it said some words. It says what looks like high spot. Some of the sticker has come off, unfortunately, and been drawn on. This looks like a child has drawn all over the guitar, and they've painted it, and there's all kind of weird things like over paint on the bridge to the body. Felt tip pen drawings icon here as well. Anyway, so I saw that and I went online, and I immediately found out that High Spot were a brand, like a sister brand to another brand in the UK, and they were very popular in the 50s and 60s with skiffle bands. Skiffle's a type of music, very fast, and lots of young people played it. It was the very in thing at the time. You got your Jimmy Page, your John Lennon, Paul McCartney. They all played in skiffle bands first. Anyway, they favoured these smaller 3/4 scale guitars. Okay, and it turns out High Spot was a sister brand of one of those. Very popular in the 50s and 60s. It was so popular that when they stopped making it, they opened up a factory in what was called Czechoslovakia. And so in the 70s, they made basically the same guitar because it was very popular. I have a feeling, because there's not really any identification marks on this, but I have a feeling, judging by the sticker and some pictures I've seen online, this is one of those Czechoslovakian guitars from the 70s. So that means we have a vintage guitar on our hands. I'm shaking it. Yeah, vintage. So I said to the owner of this guitar, I said, I found out it's vintage, first of all. But they're only worth about £50 or €50 I've seen online. It's not worth anything, but it's a piece of history, it's vintage. How about I take it away, I try and glue up the neck, because I've done that before on other guitars, just gluing the neck and clamping it on. Put some strings on it, and basically see if it can just play a chord. And if it can play a chord on it, then we've saved its life, basically. We've stopped a guitar from going in the bin. We've brought it back to life, hopefully. And he said, yes, do it. Agreed, just do it. It was free, it's not worth anything. So I got started on it. So what I started with is cleaning it up. It was in a messy state. And like I said, I'll put some photos up. And Other things like the nut is completely, well, disintegrated, okay? And it's not a standard nut as you would see today. If you can see there, it's like integrated into the fretboard. So if I was to fit a new style nut, I'd have to modify the fretboard and I'd have to take some wood away, which I'm not really prepared to do. That's a lot of work, risking damaging the neck just to put on a modern nut and not even really probably play the guitar. So it just needs to play a chord, like a D chord or an E chord, you know, the cowboy chords, and just be able to do that. It already had strings on it. It turned out they were the wrong strings. It had nylon strings. I believe this guitar is the the steel string version of the guitar. So it acts, because it doesn't have a classical bridge. It has a bridge where you can put, you know, the metal ball ends of the steel strings. So I think it's supposed to be one of those. So we're going to put some metal strings on it and see if it doesn't break the neck again. I'll probably tune it to like D standard to begin with, just to get it used to the tension, you know. But I've oiled up the machine heads and tightened them down. These turn very nicely and smoothly. Once it gets strings on, then I'll tighten them up a bit more to make sure they, you know, you can tune it and it's nice. The nut, like I said, I'm not going to change it. What I'm probably going to do is I've got some nut files. Whatever is left on there, I'm just going to open up a little bit to make sure the strings can sit somewhere and not move or pop out. Same story with the bridge. The saddle on the bridge is really low. In fact, it's so low that the old strings have gone into the bridge. Yeah. I'm not going to change that. It's not worth it. I'm just going to clean it up a little bit and make sure there's something for the string to sit on, because the neck isn't guaranteed to fix. I'm going to glue it and I'm going to clamp it together, and then hopefully that will hold. And that's not guaranteed. It looks like on the inside someone at some point has made a hole on the neck joint and possibly tried to screw in there, put a screw in there, but that's failed. But like I said, I've glued other necks before on the heel joint, and this glue seems to work pretty well. Those guitars are still alive, and I've just cleaned it up. I've got some of the, you know, the Dunlop cleaner and fretboard lemon oil stuff. I've taken my fret rubbers and I've cleaned up the frets a little bit. I've only used a 400 grit one. I've not gone through all of them. They've not gone insane. We're not going for the best frets here. These are also mega low. They've got sharp edges going up and down, but at the end of the day, it's a vintage 1970s guitar. And agreed with the owner, if I can just glue the neck, put strings on, hold tension, and somehow magically play a chord, then we've saved the guitar. It can go on a wall or just play that one chord for the rest of its life. You know what I mean? It's just making sure this doesn't go in the bin, because this guitar probably has some history to it, you know? I don't know. Anyway, that's the plan. That's what you're going to see me do. So it's going to take a few days because I need the glue to set on the neck. So the first step is well, I've already cleaned up the guitar. That was the first step, and cleaned the frets. That's done. The next step is we're going to go over and we're going to glue inside the neck pocket as best as we can, and then we're going to get some clamps and some wood, and we're just going to push the neck together and clamp it like this, and then leave it for a day or two. So today's Saturday, so start again on it probably on Monday, leave it for the rest of the week. It's a Friday, we finally made it. John Mayer, don't worry about that. Anyway, it just popped in my head. So yeah, we'll leave it for the weekend, yeah? Love on the weekend, like only we can. Anyway, let's go over and glue this thing. So quickly going through what we need, we've got 2 pieces of wood. This come from a cabinet, leftovers from a cabinet I built. We've got a clamp and another clamp, a drink of water for me in a kid's cup. Why not? And then some wood glue. Okay, that's all we need, nice and simple. So let's get cracking. Forgot to mention I've got my big pencil as well, you know, just in case I need to do any drawing or doodling. Yeah, it's good having kids. Alright, let's get gluing this. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to get some glue inside, as you can see, inside around this neck pocket. As best as we can, as much as we can, we'll squeeze it together. I'll clamp it, and then I'll take a wet rag or a wet wipe and I'll just wipe off excess glue. Because you don't want to see any excess glue, do you? Right. Vintage. Right, that should lay there like that. Open up the glue. Right. Give it a good shake. See if it'll pour out. Oh, I've got some glue. Yay. Right, let's push that all along there. Squeeze in all the gaps as best as you can. Let's turn this over. Any opening you can find. Maybe where the fretboard is. A little bit in there. Some there. On the other side, there's a little gap there as well, where the fretboard is. You can take a toothpick and you can push the glue in all the cracks as best as you can. That's what she said. Right. And then we can turn that over. If you're really brave, you can open up the neck a little bit, like I am with a bit of the hand. Push the glue in, and push the glue into there. There we go. Right, that's the toothpick done. Push it together. And then get a cloth, a wet wipe. Should have some baby wet wipes here. A wet cloth, or a wet wipe, doesn't matter. Handy having those. Just wipe off some of the excess that we don't need. I mean, there'll be a little bit of a white line, but what you can do is you can actually get some wood shavings and put that, mix it in with the glue, but we're okay. A little white line isn't going to hurt. Again, vintage. Right. Push it together. We can wipe it a bit more once it's clamped together, but that'll do for now. Right then. Let's move on to the clamps. The idea I had was to have one of the pieces of wood there and to clamp that on from here, and another piece of wood at the back. We're going to have a piece of wood on top, a piece of wood on the bottom, and we're just going to clamp those two together, and we're going to have another clamp here, and that's the clamp that's going to bring the neck together. This one's just to make sure there's a brace on the guitar and we don't put too much stress on the guitar. So this one should slide on. Go. There we go, like that. We can move this round a little bit. Move round. Like I said, we can wipe off some of the excess once we've got this second clamp on. So now we're going to get this one. And this clamp is basically going to pinch it all together. Do this nice and gentle. I'm going to look to see the neck. Well, not too tight, just enough to pinch it together. And then enough room we can get our wet wipe in, and we can wipe off the excess. And then you should be able to see the joint nice and clearly, which I can do. Wipe off the excess. So this is the clamp setup I was showing you. We've got At the back, that clamp is holding the wood to the body, and then this clamp is using the wood to bring the neck into the body. And then you can see in the joints where I've wiped out the excess. It turns out, I didn't notice this, there's actually a big gap there. There's where some of the wood has come away off the neck. So the glue has seeped out and it's gone onto the board a little bit, but that's not going to be a problem. That'll easily come off. And then there's a bit of white glue on the neck joint there. I'll see if I can do something about that later. Maybe file it down. It's fine. If we turn it over. Oh, we're not turning it over, I'll leave it. Don't want to mess with it. Right, I'm going to put this guitar away for a day or two, and we're going to let it dry. And then I'll take the clamps off and we'll see if the neck has stayed in place. Okay? So you'll see me in a few days. Okay, it's a few days later. Thanks for joining us on this little adventure. Shall we take off the clamps and see if it worked? I think we should. Let's undo this one. Let's undo this one. Oh, that's a good start. It looks like we're on. And I'm pulling on it. The strings are going to pull on it more than I am anyway. And it appears to be glued in and rock solid. Not a bad little job. There's a bit of glue here, you can see, but I mean, overall I'm going to say this is a nice, neat little job. There's that gap I was telling you about before where the glue was seeping out. So I thought I'd have it, I thought it would be stuck to these pieces of wood, to be honest, and I'd have to get it off, but no, it looks like we're good. It was just a tiny bit of seepage. Yeah, pull on the neck, push, and good. So I guess the next step is to put some strings on this guitar. Actually, no, sorry, the next step, if you can see this nut, which is barely a nut, I'm going to get my nut files out and I'm going to just lightly a few times go over the gaps just to give it, you know, some space, you know, for it to breathe, so to speak, for the strings to actually sit on some kind of groove. And then I might do a clean up of the saddle as well. Just again, make sure there's a nice, you know, there's a nice smooth place for the strings to sit on. And then we'll probably tune it up to, I'm thinking D standard to begin with. It might sound good in D standard actually. We'll do like a lower tuning just to make sure it doesn't go kaplunk straight away. And we'll see how it holds after a few days, I guess. Right, onwards and upwards. So, here are some new fret files. I know these are just your cheap Amazon specials, but this guitar's not worth getting expensive stuff for. And to be honest, I've not really been asked to do many nut jobs, so to speak. So, I'll start with the cheap stuff and then work my way up to the more expensive, nice stuff like StewMac stuff, I guess. But these are just Amazon specials. Right, let's start here where there's hardly anything. So we need 2 to 5, 1 to 4. And this side, that's the thinner side, that must be for 1. So they don't label which side is which is, you know, I can figure it out. Right, we're not going to do hardly any. It It's just to give the string something to sit on somewhere on this nut. Right, let's move on to 2. That'll be this one. You literally don't have to do any pressure or force on this. And you go at an angle that way. There we go. Opening up just a little bit. The other thing to remember with the nuts are, because of this style of headstock, you've got to, I'm going to exaggerate, the file goes like that, because on this side of the nut you've got to create a bit of a wider gap for the string because of the angle to the tuning pegs. I'm going to treat this guitar like practice, to be honest. Right, we need the thinner side of this one. Oh, that's a bit tricky to... Must be this side, right. Number 3. Just a couple. This nut is like cheese. It literally just disintegrates. So a little bit there. Right, back to number 4. So the thicker side. Yeah, you should really masking tape all this up, but we're not going to go too overboard on this guitar, as long as it can play a chord. Number 5. And finally, number 6. That's the thick end. Can see, to make a new nut, like I said, I'd have to remove the wood material and I'd have to saw it off and make a gap for this nut. There's just no point. There's just no point. So anyway, so that's the nut file job done. Just to go over the surface. There we go. Get all that horrible varnish off. Right, then we can just go into the slots. Don't know why there are slots like that. Slots originally, or is this just from where? I don't know. Anyway, it's a bit nice and cleaner now. We're not going to go overboard. Let's wipe it off with the cloth. We're going to put some Ernie Ball earthwood strings on because that's all I've got, to be honest. It's not a big gauge string, so it should be okay. Before I put them on, I just wanted to show you that the frets I've got a bit shinier by using the old Baroque fret erasers. I've only gone to 1,000, to be honest. It turns out the guitar, it looks like all the brownness is someone has varnished this like it was an ornament, so I'm guessing this has been on somebody's wall or something, or piece of furniture. So the frets were like covered in varnish. So I've also taken, you know, a screwdriver and a blade, and I've tried to get off as much varnish as I could off the frets. Same with the nut, I've given that a little bit of a sand down. And then with the saddle you just saw me do. So that's nice and white and clean. These are nice and soft now and nice and shiny compared to before. Like you can see, somebody's varnished the fretboard, so yeah, this was just an ornament at some point. So, but like I said, if we can play a chord Yeah, you can see the varnish around the metal collars. Look on the yeah. So I think when the neck broke, someone just varnished it up, made it look pretty on top of a fireplace. But that's not what we're here for. We're here to put these on and see if we can bring life back into this thing. So, okay, I'm not going to show you me putting the strings on. You've seen hundreds of videos on how to restring a guitar. I'm going to string it right-handed, and I'm going to probably tune it to drop D standard to start with. So hopefully when you see me next, I'll be playing this guitar. So check this out. I mean, we're in D standard, but mission accomplished. We can play a chord. Obviously the strings are new. These are going to take a while to bed in. I know it's got a charm to it. Now, just to explain something as well. Can you see that action? Can you see that action? It gets really low at the nut, and then it gets really high at the body. Look at that. Look at that for an action. So yeah, I'm afraid it's cowboy chords only for this guitar from now on. But I mean, there's a D chord, an A chord, an E chord, a G chord. D, G, C, F, O, A, D. There we go. Let's play the F chord. I mean, obviously it's 2 down, it's actually in D, so it's not an F, it's an E flat. Okay, we've got no intonation up here, which is to be expected, yeah? The goal was to play chords up here, yeah? Cowboy chords. take a bit to settle. Anyway, the next step is to leave this for a little bit to make sure the neck doesn't pop off. But essentially that's it. It's strung up. It's got some nice strings on there. It's nice and clean now. And it can be played. We can play a chord once it's tuned. There we go. It'll take a while for it to settle. Start again. It'll take a while for it to settle. Yeah, but I think mission accomplished. I have saved this guitar from ruin. And it looks nice. I think it looks nice. Anyway. Thank you very much for watching. I think we'll end it there. I mean, there's not really much more I can do with this apart from just leave it for a little bit to settle. Sounds good in D standard, by the way. That second string goes sharp. And the top string, the number 1 string, that always comes out. The tuning peg's not very good on that one. It slipped out and popped out before I started recording, so I don't really trust that. Oh, there we go. Anyway, it's a bit of fun. So anyway, that's it from me. Thank you for watching. I'm going to call that a day on this. It's been saved. It can play a chord. It can play several chords. It's not going to be the best guitar in the world, but it is a guitar from the 70s that was found on a heap. It was junk. It's been cleaned up, glued back together. It's got strings on it, and it sounds like a guitar. So it is back to being a guitar again. Thank you very much. Comment, like and subscribe, all the other YouTuber stuff, and see you next time. Bye bye.